Right.
Yeah.
And then what's interesting as well is that like all these things in brain chemistry, I think that especially in dogs, we look at these dogs and they're slaves to their desires, right? And that's what we want. Like we want these dogs that, like my own dog is very hyper dopaminergic dog, I would say, because when you look at so he's more like he likes the pursuit of dopamine rather than like the oxytocin that will come from actually getting things. When you look at the way he possesses stuff, for example, you just see Remy doesn't actually give a shit about having a toy. He wants to take it from you. He wants to earn it. And then when he's got it, he runs around with it. He parades it a little bit, but then he'll sit down next to it and he stares at you and will even bark at you like, hey, challenge me for the toy, right?
Yep.
Or he'll compel you to say, tell me to do something. It was very, my sister just got a new dog. And so I was over at her place, like socializing my safe dogs with her new dog. And, just so that he doesn't destroy the kids' football and stuff that's in the yard, I left him with his toy. And so the kids would throw the ball for him. And then, when they're done with him, he then goes and sits down and just starts barking incessantly. Like, why isn't anybody trying to like tell me to do something to earn this toy? And you look at him and an uneducated person would be like, your dog's a lunatic. Like he's got the thing and he's challenging you to tell him to sit because, and people, what often people say is like, he's so engaged with you, he wants to work, right? Mm-hmm. And what I think is really happening in his brain is he's so dopaminergic that he doesn't give a shit about having the ball. He wants the dopamine rush that comes from trying to earn the ball.
Yep.
Right? So like that's interesting to understand. And I think that I've kind of forgot where I was fucking leading with this. I'm explaining it too much, but that's what we see in some people as well who are then trying to pursue like, I must know everything about these dogs, right? Like, and I must research this and understand it. And even though you've told it to me, I have to go back to your original source stuff. I've heard you explain it. I've seen you practically give an example of it. I have to go back and relearn the process from the source instead of just taking your word for it. That's the act of a dopaminergic person because knowing it is of no use to them.
So
right?
they become a professional student, basically.
That's right. And we see that. And there's people that are that, right? Like that are like whether it's in our industry or others, there's people who never actually put their skills to use.
Yeah.
And it's not about having the skills. But anyway, so like I was saying, I figured out where I was going with it, was that knowing it, you then, like dogs are slaves to their desires. They just act the way that they do and they don't understand why. Like you'd never say to Remy, like, why do you want to work for the ball so much? You just, I fucking do, right? You don't seem to like.
Because it makes me feel good.
Yeah, you don't seem to like having it. Why do you want it so much? Because every time you get it, you try to give it back to me or you demand that I do something else to make it. And that's because he enjoys dopamine. He's not a big like serotonin or oxytocin dog, like the possession, the win, the long term, he doesn't give a shit about. And he's genetically engineered to be like that, right? Like because that makes him work forever, whether he gets paid or not.
But do you think he would do it without being introduced to it? Or
No, he needs first to be given the obsession. It needs to be
part of a learned behavior.
Yeah, there needs to first be like, here's something you like, fall in love with it and now pursue it for the rest of your life.